Old Man Gaming here, still alive. So, I wanted to just chat a little bit about some of the launch titles and the inconsistency around the third parties that I've been noticing. Now, you know how funny I find the key fob games that they're coming out with for the Switch 2. Now, I'm probably the only one in the world that even considered a compromise on buying them, and that is just to include not charge more for it, just include it, and that's digital art books and soundtracks, because I know I love them. I don't know how other people feel about them, but I enjoy looking up at concept arts or promotional drawings that you may never have seen unless it was in an art book. That's just me, loving collecting art like that. But other than that, there's genuinely no good reason to buy these key fob games for the Switch 2. Even the argument for reselling doesn't make any sense to me, because it hasn't, I don't think it has rolled out yet, but the virtual cards that Nintendo is planning to roll out for the Switch 2, just remind me again, does it only apply to family members, or is it to anyone that knows your friend code? Because if you can lend out your digital copy, remember it has to be a digital only purchase, if you can rent that out to people for a week, wouldn't you make more money doing that than you could ever do reselling a game? I know it sucks for physical collections, but for people that like to resell and not keep their own games, honestly, that's probably your best option. You save space on your shelf, and you're able to reuse and resell, or not resell, but rent out the game that you're not playing anymore. And you make a little side hustle on the side, maybe $5-10 a week for whoever. I mean, that's an idea that crossed my mind, just to set up an eBay shop and just become a little mini Blockbuster for those that remember. Yeah, old man here, old man. And that's for because of those key fob games, which from third parties that I'm noticing are rather inconsistent as well. Prime example, what was it? Daemon X Machina Scion, that's coming up. Here in the States, we're getting it published by Marvelous, and they're selling it with the whole game on the cartridge for us here in the States, which is awesome. But apparently the import versions from Asia and Japan, you could probably see it on Play Asia if it's listed up right now, that's actually going to be key card versions, those key fobs, which doesn't make any sense to me. Why would those versions not have the full game on the cartridge, but we get it here? That doesn't make any sense to me. Why wouldn't it be across the board? I guess publishers have different policies, I guess. That doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you go through the trouble of just doing that? But okay. And shoot, wow. And there are also their Rune Factory. Shoot, how's it pronounced? Azuma. That's coming out. If you have the Switch 1 version, like I did, the special edition, you don't have to worry. If you want the Switch 2 upgrade, because they are offering it for $15 as an option, and the Switch 2 cartridge, if you want to just buy that, you don't want any of the art books and soundtrack, whatever little goodies are in that Earth Dancer edition, I believe it's called, then yes, all the game is on the cartridge. So I have to worry about that. So that's nice if you just want the box collection and you still want to be able to enjoy some of the additional enhancements for the Switch 2. That's available to you for $15. Actually, you know what I'm thinking about? Will upgrades like that be on sale in the future? That's a thought that crossed my mind for these upgrades, just in case you have some Switch 1 version of a game and you want to see if you can get either enhancements from the developers themselves, or if you want to just try to see if it actually just has better performance just from the hardware itself from the Switch 2. Because that's another thing that crossed my mind, is that it's probably possible for Switch 1 games, even if they don't have any upgrade options available, to still play better on the Switch 2, just from the fact that the hardware is more advanced. Because it's known already that an unlocked Switch will have better performance for most games already, because it's, I believe, what was it, the GPU is actually purposely underclocked on a stock Switch. So that's why sometimes games don't perform as well as you would think or hope. It's not because the hardware for the Switch is underpowered. Well, it is for most high performance games. For something like a pixel game, for whatever strange reason, you might even have performance issues because of that, and which is really weird. But I guess they didn't want it to possibly overheat, get too hot in your hands. But that's the way it went with the Switch 1. So that's why the performance on the Switch 2 for any games that didn't perform well, again, for the Switch 1, will probably just do better based on the hardware alone. But now there's another inconsistency from third parties that I noticed, and that is from Sega themselves, from their games, and as a consequence, Atlas 2, and that is no option at all to upgrade, which doesn't make any sense to me from a business standpoint. One option, or one perspective I can have, is that, well, maybe they just want to increase sales. You want a Switch 1 version, you can get that, but if you want the Switch 2 version, you have to buy that, which sucks because they're only offering those key fob games. The Renault is a prime example of that. I pre-ordered it, actually, the Switch 1 version, hoping that maybe it was just going to be a $10-15 to upgrade to a Switch 2 version. Seems simple enough. It seemed like the standard going forward, set by Nintendo and Marvelous. We just pointed that out, prime example. But no, it's not even going to be an option, and I don't understand why. Because I had a discussion on this on Facebook with a troll who's pretending to not understand this, and you know he's a troll because they hasn't answered the question of why it's a bad business decision. If the idea is to increase sales, I understand that. If you want the enhanced performance, you gotta pay for it. It's two separate sales, right? That makes sense from a business standpoint. But when you consider the fact that the PS4 has a free upgrade to the PS5, all of a sudden that logic disappears. Why would you offer that for the PlayStation, but not even make it an option for your upcoming Nintendo Switch, which arguably I would say is going to outsell it? That's just me and my thought. But yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? If the idea is to increase sales, you wouldn't make the upgrade not available for PlayStation 2, right? That just makes sense. But that's not what they're doing. That's not what Sega's doing for their games, their upcoming games. Not for, what was it, Yakuza 0, not for Sonic and Shadow Generations. No, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? If it's not to increase sales, it seems to me just being lazy and didn't want to make the effort. It could be maybe giving the benefit of the doubt. It happened relatively too soon. They were already in development, and by the time they got some kind of prototype kit, it was too late. Maybe, but honestly, I think it's a case that they just didn't want to put in the work to do it. Because if it was if the idea was to increase sales, they would not even make it an option to upgrade for the PS4, let alone make it for free. That doesn't make any sense. So it's just so inconsistent. And it's Switch 2 hasn't even been out yet, for God's sakes. And already it's looking pretty grim to just buy games for it at all. Because you're most likely not going to own it. It's just going to end up being a key fob, in which case you're better off buying digital. Or if you want it physically, and there's a Switch 1 version, well, there's a chance that you might not even have an option to upgrade, which doesn't make any sense at this point. Oh shoot. Konami. I have not seen it yet. I know they're making a Switch 2 version of Suikoden 1 and 2, but I do not know if there's an upgrade option for the Switch 1 version, which I got. So that's another case of inconsistency. If it's available or not at all. And I don't mind paying for it. Would it be nice to have those free upgrades? Sure, it would be. Of course. Always nice to save a little money. But if you have to pay 10, 15 bucks for it, I would be okay with it. But at this point, for it to not be an option when it's already established that it can be, like, I just don't understand it. It's just really annoying to be shopping right now for Switch 2 games. Which, here's a part of the discussion that doesn't seem to be happening at all that I've seen when we're talking about the Switch 2 and their games. How many of us have had the Switch since day one? Have you only bought one game in how many years? 6? Almost 7? Like, really? And you're talking about $80 games and $70 and like, no, you already have most of these games already. If we're talking about first parties, maybe some third parties, like, you already have them. You're not going to be paying $80, $70 extra dollars to rebuy them. Like, no, stop lying. You're going to be paying $10 at most, or even just getting it for free because you have the subscription service, right? For the expansion pass, Nintendo Online. So I don't know why all this complaining is happening. Because if you're like me, you have plenty of backlog already ready to go, just to even test already if it's going to perform better or not based on the hardware alone. So, yeah. At least it's not raining. So I honestly don't know why that blew up as much as it did. Because, yeah, I get it. I get it for maybe for some people maybe a handful, honestly. Because what is it? Zelda is an evergreen title. Mario, all that. It's still selling, which is crazy. It really is. But yeah, they're still selling after all these years. But if you were like me and you were savvy, you already bought those games for like what, $30, $40? So you're really not missing out on any performance or versions of those games when it comes to the Switch 2 at this point. Most of us. And boy, how did those pre-orders go again? All that talk about not pre-ordering it. I mean, I already saw it and I already called it. And honestly, who thought it was not going to go that way after what happened in the UK, which was pretty funny considering how many screenshots I saw of people from here in the US actually getting their orders canceled, rightfully so, trying to order from the UK. Yeah, of course it was gonna sell. Of course it was. Oh man, I'm an old man rambling, trying to get my thoughts gathered. But yeah, all the pricing. And going back to pricing again, just like with Marvelous and the Azuma game, just to get that version of the game Switch 2, just the $10, $15, right? So, prime example, you buy the Switch 1 version of the game on sale. It's a Marvelous game. I think it goes on sale regularly. Room Factory's pretty cheap. Like, shoot, what was it? Just a couple weeks ago, Room Factory 5, the latest one, got on sale. Man, I want to say for $15. I bought that special edition day one, but getting the digital version for $15, and then hypothetically, $10, $15 to get the Switch 2 version of that. That's $30 right there. That's half the price of a brand new purchase for the Switch 1 version of that game. So yeah, all that talk about complaining about prices when really most of us are cheap little bastards, and they're hardly paying full price for games. So I just found that whole discussion pretty funny from my perspective. But it also just goes to show about, again, inconsistencies about the prices of games, first party, third parties going forward. It's sometimes it just doesn't make any sense. And if you're not in a rush, honestly, to play most games day one, because for me, the deal breakers are if it has sometimes a special edition or not, because I do like those for my collection. And all right. But if it's not available, then I probably would just wait on a sale. And man, and going forward, you're probably going to save even more money because these key fob games just aren't worth collecting. And aesthetically, for me, I just don't like the red box look of the Switch 2 games. I don't like that streak across. It's unappealing to me. Maybe you like it. I don't really. So yeah, that's probably going to be another reason why you're actually going to save money on games, because you're not going to buy physically, because physically it's meaningless for most of these that I'm seeing, which means you're probably going to wait on a sale for a digital. And that's another thing. Do they set an example yet of how the new eShop is going to look and work? I hope that thing's a lot better, because yeah, the current one is it's sometimes it's a real struggle just to go through the pages and just to find anything. I hope that's a lot better. Oh man. But yeah, I got my pre-order in, and I'm still getting it, and I'm still happy about it. Oh, another thing I want to talk about is the funny specs of the Switch 2. It's hilarious to me. Another thing that doesn't get talked about, but this old man remembers, is how in the beginning the Super Switch, man, what a missed opportunity that is. Did not have called it the Super Switch. I would have loved to have seen a, what was it? Would have been a gray and purple design. That would have been fun. Missed opportunities, Nintendo. That early days, that people would have been happy and satisfied if the performance of the now Switch 2 would have been at least PS4 levels, and it's looking like it's going to be PS4 Pro, if not sometimes better, simply because of optimization. And now people bitch and moan about that? My God, man. Oh my God. I cracked up when I saw discussions like that. Oh, fickle people. But, yeah, there's some good things to look forward to, and some, and quite a bit of bad things, heartbreaking things to look forward to and see how it all plays out in the years to come. Because honestly speaking, this might just be winding down the last generation for physical games, simply because it's just going that way, and for no understandable reason to me. You might think it's development costs. Prime example, Square Enix and the Bravely Default remaster. I'm looking forward to that. I'll buy digitally, probably on a sale. But yeah, it's a key fob game. Doesn't make any sense to me. Real shame on that. And I don't understand why you would even bother making a key fob because it would just be cheaper just to release it digitally only. And if you really wanted to if the idea is to at least have it displayed and put on sale in retail stores, if that's the idea of making them and trying to keep costs down and producing them, wouldn't it just make more sense to make, you've seen them before, little cardboard vouchers, like a gift card? You see them at Walmart for all the first party games. Wouldn't that be a cheaper option if you really wanted it to put in sales in retail? We could have brought down the price of digital versions of games, and you can still put it in retail. So, yeah. Man. It's a bittersweet thing coming into the Switch 2 generation now. But I'm still gonna look forward to it and all the gameplay, interesting ones that Nintendo has coming up with. Just to reflect back on sometimes. Because man, this old man, he remembers that first day he played Super Mario on the Nintendo, and to see how far gameplay and systems changed over the years, man, it's been crazy. But I've rambled on long enough. I got to get to work. Thank you for listening to this old man just babble on. Like, share, and subscribe, please. I'm doing my best to get to 50 subscribers, because I think that's the bare minimum just to stream. I'm trying to set it up on my Steam Deck. It hasn't been going well. The old man still got tricks to learn, new things to learn. I'm doing my best. Thank you. You have a nice day.